Hello, I'm Sarah Burns with the Salt Lake Local Real Estate Group, and today we're going to discuss the things that you need to be aware of in new construction. Okay, we're going to discuss the equity sharing addendum, deposits, lender incentives, title incentives, build times, and ensuring that you're working with the right co-agent. Okay, so let's start with an addendum that, quite frankly, scares me a little bit. Okay, this is an addendum that we have only recently seen in contracts over the last couple of years. It's a result of that our housing market is, unlike Europe, it's not regulated at all. Okay, so there's an addendum that says if you build a property and you sell that property within 1 to 2 years, that when you sell it, you will share the equity with the builder. It's very important that anyone who thinks that they might be relocating within the next year or two, anyone who thinks that they might be searching for a new job, that you're aware of this addendum and that you work with your realtor to do everything that you can optimally to get it out of the contract. Okay, if not, to modify it in a way that protects you. Number two, deposits. We're seeing some hefty deposits right now in building contracts. It's almost like tract homes are being treated as if they're custom homes, wherein builders are maybe asking for 30 to 50,000 down in deposits. Many buyers do not have this kind of money, okay, lying around. It doesn't mean that they can't gain financing. They're still good borrowers. In many cases, your realtor can negotiate down those costs or make them due within certain increments. Number three, lending incentives and title incentives. This one might be problematic in many ways. Often the builder is working with a lender who might potentially be paying some of their marketing costs, and they in turn refer this lender within their contracts. But that lender may or may not be the best person for the buyer to work with. Okay, now the incentives, for example, I just had a client that closed on a home. Within their contract, they were offered $7,500. It could not be used towards upgrades. It could only be used towards closing cost. Now, the difficulty is with this, even though they were offered $7,500, lenders more frequently than not insist that their borrowers bring in the majority of their closing costs. This makes the banks feel safe. It makes them feel like the buyer has the money to get into the home and is not going to default. So in reality, though there was a $7,500 lending incentive, the buyer in the end was only able to take advantage of about $2,500 of that. Okay, there's also a title incentive now. Now, let me put it plainly to you, this title incentive, more often than not, it's not a thing. It's a number that looks really good in the contract, but when you're offered closing cost in the contract, those closing costs already include the title cost. Okay, so again, just something that looks good in the contract is all. Might not benefit the buyer. It's very important as a buyer that you speak with your primary lender and that you compare when these incentives are offered to you, what's the origination fee? Does the interest rate go up? Because generally speaking, there's not such thing as free money. Let's discuss build time, number 4. Okay, the average build time for a property right now is 8 to 9 months, but we're seeing them sometimes take 12 to 13 months. Within most contracts, builders insulate themselves. They have up to 2 years, okay, sometimes 3 years to build out homes. Now, during this time, if you're caught in such a contract where that happens, and I do want to say it is rare that this occurs, but if it does occur, your interest rate might just be ticking up in that time. And if you try to pull out of the contract, you can potentially lose your earnest money and all your deposits. So something to be mindful of, something to see if your agent's able to negotiate something different. Okay, though this seems to be a sticking point for a lot of builders. Number 5, working with the co-agent who's really going to be in the service of you as the buyer. Okay, now sometimes you might be out, you're driving around and you see a new construction neighborhood and you go into that new construction model home and the agent behind the desk asks you for your name. You don't want to give that agent your name. Okay. And here's why: you know nothing about that agent. The agent might be a collaborative player, or they may not be. They might be a brand new agent. They might be a seasoned agent. You don't know anything about them. The moment they have your name and information, they log you in, they register you. And that means that your agent will have to work with that particular agent, okay, as the co-agent. And as I said, this may or may not be beneficial to you. You don't know who you've got, okay? But if your agent is a seasoned agent, then they have got a list of the realtors that they have worked with past building companies who they have found to be the most collaborative. Okay, so if you go into a model home without your realtor, simply say, we're not ready to be registered, but our realtor's name is, and then they can call your realtor. I hope this podcast has been helpful in helping you work through and understanding new construction. If you have any questions, you can call me or my lending partner, Ashley Seipert. Thanks for joining today.